Hi everyone, it's Carol here, the founder of the Sleep Success Academy. And in today's video, I wanted to talk about boundaries and how when we have clear, healthy boundaries, we can support ourselves to create better sleep for ourselves, and how these boundaries actually helps our nervous system build more resiliency in it so that we can fall asleep quicker and stay asleep all night. So that's what I want to share in today's video. And I'll also give you 3 quick actionable steps you can start using today to start creating those boundaries for yourself. So before we get there, though, I wanted to let you know that we're currently doing a series of 4 free coaching calls in the Better Sleep community. And so these calls are free to everybody watching this right now, or anybody you know that you might want to share the video with. We've already done 2 of the calls. The next 2 are coming up on December 30th and on January 2nd. We're going to talk about creating boundaries, healthy sleep patterns, and what is your next step, or what it is that you need to do in order to create that sleep for yourself. So go to our website, sleepsuccessacademy.com, on the free coaching tab. You click that, you'll see the detail of the 4 calls, and you can register right there. And you can just go below here in the description and you'll see the link where you can just click on that to bring you to that web page. So let's talk about boundaries. I know when I started my sleep journey, my better sleep journey, I didn't know what boundaries were. I didn't even know, like, to me, boundaries sounded something like I'm just gonna push people out, and it's like a wall I'm creating with other people. Like, I'm gonna protect myself at all costs and I'm gonna protect my sleep at all costs, but get out of my life type thing. So my boundary setting was very harsh. And there was not a whole lot of compassion for myself or anybody in this boundary setting. That's not the type of boundary that we're talking about here, but we want to create healthy, supportive boundaries to help support your sleep so that you don't burn out and then not be able to take care of yourself and your sleep suffers. So, to give you a visual here, like we have that battery life on our phone. So, my phone's right here. You know how we have the battery life, and we can tell when our phone is done enough for us and it needs support by being recharged by plugging it in so that it can keep working for us tomorrow or the next day. Well, we're the same. We only have a certain amount of energy in the tank before we need to recharge ourselves. So, what happens with a lot of us that have a hard time saying no, and we say yes to way too many things, we don't take time to plug ourselves in to recharge the battery. Boundaries are what helps us replug in. So I'm going to give you some examples of some boundaries. So one of the ways you can set boundaries in the evenings would be to not answer late emails that are work related. So let's say I have a 9 to 5 job, but I come home and I keep checking my emails after work. So a boundary for yourself could be that, no, these are my work hours, and anything outside of that, I actually focus on myself, on my family, on my hobbies, and not work 24/7. That's an example of a boundary. Another example of a boundary, and I'll give more later on, would be like not having an emotionally charged conversation right before bed. Like, we know the conversation needs to happen, but it can happen tomorrow. So I'm setting a boundary with what I allow into my environment and what I don't. So that's another way I like to see it. Like, I'm allowing things in, but then I get to choose if I deal with them right now or later. It's not selfish to set boundaries. It's not selfish to tell someone, I just don't have the energy right now to do that, but we can talk about it tomorrow, right? What I want to talk about now is the difference between an external boundary and an internal boundary. This is how I see it, and you can do some research on this for yourself, but an external boundary is trying to change something externally out of me. Like, I'm going to use my poor husband. I keep using his snoring. So the boundary with him snoring. So at the external boundary is saying, get out of the bedroom. I can't sleep with you here. Your snoring drives me nuts. You get it. And I did this. I actually did this. I sent him to get a sleep test done because I was like, there's something wrong with you. And I was blaming everything that I was feeling on his snoring. So the external boundary in that example would be to kick him out of the bedroom, right? Which is fine to do. And I've done it, and we have a great relationship, even though he sleeps in a different bed. But an internal boundary, this is where the difference is where I'm showing myself that I am worthy. So internally, I know that I deserve good sleep. And if my husband's snoring is affecting me, then the boundary becomes us having a conversation and saying, it's not your fault that you snore, but it is affecting my sleep. And I really value and prioritize my sleep. Therefore, we're going to sleep in separate bedrooms so that I can get the sleep I need and you can get the sleep you need. So I didn't set that boundary as a wall, confrontational, get out, I'm done. It sounded like that when I was sleep deprived. But now that I know better, I'm understanding that the boundary is more about internal to me. I'm showing myself that I deserve the good sleep. Therefore, one of the ways to support myself through the night is to not sleep next to someone who snores really loud, right? So that's the difference in the boundaries, an internal and an external. They're both happening at the same time, but the internal one is a lot more compassionate, has a lot more curiosity, really allows us to have the conversation with the other one when we're setting the boundaries so that we're not blaming them, but we're working as a team to support my sleep, support his sleep. Makes sense? I hope that example showed you how you can set a boundary and it be gentle and kind. So now I wanted to give you 3 actionable steps that you can start today to practice to see how boundary setting could work for you. So I have some notes here. I'm going to read from the notes just if you're wondering why I'm looking down. The first actionable step at creating a boundary could be to set a sleep routine boundary. What does that mean to set yourself a sleep routine boundary? Well, we want to create a predictable time, a predictable bedtime and wake up time, so that your body, that your internal knows that we are going to sleep from this time to this time. So when we set that boundary, we want to do it with kindness and compassion and with knowing that it's going to take time to get into this routine and we might get off it sometimes. It's okay. But when I am, say, 95% of the time following this predictable routine, what I'm doing internally is I'm telling my body, showing my body that I care about sleep. And this is one way that I can actually help support my sleep. So I'm really telling my body, I respect your need for sleep. So that's the first thing. I want you to start looking at what could be this predictable sleep routine and how can you set a boundary with the people in your household to let them know that this will be your sleep time and that maybe you have an hour before that where you don't want difficult conversations or anything to disrupt that. So that's a sleep routine boundary. The second one is like practice a tech-free, but I'm going to change that word to stress-free zone. I have a hard time with people who say, don't be on your electronics at all before bed or don't watch TV before bed in the last hour. Even though I agree that TV or phones or social media can activate our nervous system, that will then keep us awake. It's not about the blue light for me. It's about what is it doing to your nervous system. So if I'm going to set a boundary of like tech-free or stress-free zone, I prefer to call it stress-free, I guess, because you could be using your phone to listen to quiet music. It is not about being on the phone, it's about what you're watching on the phone or what you're watching on the TV. Examples of this, maybe you decide on a boundary that the hour before bed, you allow yourself technology, but you don't allow yourself to go on Facebook because Facebook is where you see everybody else's big things happening in their life and it brings you down, or you get caught. If sometimes it's not even that, you just get caught scrolling and then you can't get out of it and you know you've passed your bedtime by like an hour now because of it. Or you watch TV, but you watch something, a show that is like happy and uplifting as opposed to watching the news and everything that's going on. So this stress-free zone, the next boundary, or tech-free zone, it's more about how can I reduce the impact on my nervous system. So that's the second actionable step you can look at. And the third one, I said communicate your needs kindly with others. So sometimes, say someone wants your attention, and for me, people know they're 8 o'clock, don't call, don't text. You can, I'm just not going to answer. And it's because I know that that's my stress-free zone. That's my time to relax. That's me time. And if it's an emergency, the people who need to reach me know how to reach my husband, and he'll come and get me for whatever. But if it's not an emergency, we can deal with it the next day. So maybe it's communicating with these people that are used to calling you in the evening and just say, you know what, I love chatting with you, but could we find a time during the day to chat? Because in the evening, I'm really trying to set this routine so that I can make sure that I'm going to fall asleep easier. Or maybe it is somebody you want to talk to because you know that 10 minutes with this person will actually make you feel good and allow you to sleep better, but don't get into big conversation. So it's really about communicating your needs kindly. What could be another example of that? Say, like in your house. Oh, I had a friend who her kids stayed up later than her because they were teenagers and it was during the summer. And so she was staying up with them just because they were still awake. And then after a while, she was like, I can't do this. I still have to get up in the morning to go to work. So she communicated with them. Well, at first she didn't communicate with them. She just started going to bed earlier. And her daughter was looking for her one night, like, Mom, where did you go? And she's like, oh, I guess I need to communicate with them that from now on I'm going to bed earlier because I'm too tired. And what did she show them? I love this example because not only did she show them that she respected herself enough and how important her sleep was, that she would put herself to bed even though they were still awake, but she also told them, like, don't come wake me unless it's an emergency, but let's find time during the day to chat. So that's kind of a third way to set a boundary, is communicate kindly with others what your new sleep routine is going to be. So you see, when you look at boundaries that way, boundaries aren't selfish, right? Like a lot of people will say, like, when you set a boundary, it's selfish because you're putting your needs first and you should really think about others. I agree, we need to think of others. But if I don't fill my cup first, if I don't recharge my batteries first, then I can't be there for others the way I want to. And so in order for me to be there for others, I need to recharge my battery first. And when I recharge my battery with a predictable sleep routine, with just saying no to the things I don't want to do, but like really managing my time and my energy, I sleep better. And you know what? The side effect of that is I can actually give better to other people. I can give more because I'm rested. So that's how boundaries for me come into us improving the quality of our sleep. So again, if you want to join us on the free coaching calls, you just go to the website, sleepsuccessacademy.com. At the top, you'll see a tab that says free coaching calls. You can click on that and sign up for the calls. And at the same time, if you know somebody who needs help setting boundaries, send them this video so that they can join us and see what it's like for them.